Wait a few moments for things to get dialed here, me to get kind of set up. Um, Hello there. Keep it fresh. Art, join me. Thank you. Anna, thanks for joining me. And I'm actually coming live from Instagram and Facebook, so you have two different screens I'm looking at. I have this cool headset I just got because my computer sound is acting kind of funky. Hey, Tegan, thanks for your question earlier. So hello, everybody out there. It's Angela, co-founder of Heal Your Adrenal Fatigue and co-creator. Thanks for joining me this evening. And I'm popping in to talk about a really, hot topic, a topic that many of us have a lot of charge around, right? And I was inspired to do this call first because I received this really funny comment from one of our moms in our community this past week, and which I'll keep anonymous. But anyway, you can also please write your questions, comments. Let me know where you're joining me from. And we're going to be doing some Facebook Lives on a weekly. So, me, I'm my favorite thing to talk about is stress and mindset and sleep and movement. I'm a yoga teacher, health coach, all those things. But anyway, we'll be popping and talking about gut health over the next couple weeks and diet and how to deal with family judgment, people that don't really understand this condition, all those things. So the comment I got was that, which some of you might have read it, but I'm going to punch the next person in the throat who tells me to reduce my stress. And this is not the first time I've heard this comment. And I think a lot of you out there can probably relate. Am I right? I appreciate her realness. I appreciate her, authenticity. And hello, D. Mita. Medal 1010, join and thank you. And again, I think a lot of you can relate to this. A lot of people, doctors, practitioners, even me in the past as a health coach, I've said, reduce your stress. But then the conversation ends. And not often are we actually given tools, right, to actually make this work. Actually, look at life and stress differently. So that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. I want to give you some really practical and pragmatic tools. So I'm going to delve into a few things tonight, and I'm going to delve into why this is so important, the resistance around it, our mindset around stress, and give you some some tools you can actually use in your real life that aren't doesn't mean you have to meditate for half an hour every day. Meditation is a powerful tool, but there are very simple things that you can do to sort of shift this is about starting to shift your perspective about life in general. And I know that sounds kind of big, but it's actually not. Less. So anyway, we're going to go there. I want to talk about the opposite of stress and what that looks like, because it's so important to talk about the other side of stress and then what stress is, how it keeps us from, it can either, keep us stuck, or it can work for us, and we can make it so it can work for us. So I want to talk about that. I'm going to share a little bit about my story and kind of where I've come from, because I've come quite a long way. And, this is now really my specialty, working with clients and stress and anxiety. But, there's a reason why I'm here doing this work. It's because I've been there. And so I think I'm just touching on a few things I'm going to, talk about. And of course, I'm going to give you some awesome, awesome tools. So, why is stress so important? And I think the big key piece to remember here is that when we're stressed, we are our body's in a threatened state. So our body has the same flood of reactions, same flood of hormones in our body, whether we're, being chased by a wild animal, whether we're looking at our, bill, our statement, our bank statement, whether we're caught in traffic and we're late for a meeting. And so those demands on our adrenals over and over again, all throughout the day, aren't going to allow us to heal. We need to shift the way that we react to them, right? So all these things are going to keep happening in our lives. They're not going to change. Hello, Lake Major. They're not going to change, but what we need to do is change the way that we look at them, the way that we react to them. That is really the key. It's like putting the power back into you, really is how I like to look at it. So in order for our adrenals to truly heal, we need to take that time. We need to learn this. We need to be honest with ourselves about shifting that relationship with stress so that we can start to give the adrenals a break more often throughout the day. Like, you know, you can probably relate, like a lot of us are in that revved up. We have that revved up feeling in our bodies, right? Like right now, you might have it where you have this sort of intensity in your belly or your neck, right? Or you just feel like 100,000 things going on in your head and you can't quite like focus on anything. We all have that. A lot of us have it. Some of us have it more than others. But I think what we really need to think about here is just what I want to start with is mindset. I want to get real for a moment about the frustration that the charge that stress has, the word stress has in our lives. And also acknowledge and be honest with ourselves that, you know, we need to kind of get this under control, right, in order to heal. We can take the best supplements in the world, but if we're not working on our stress and working on how we react to life and our outlook, things aren't really going to change. That's just sort of how it is. It's the reality. And so we need to figure out a different way, but you don't have to do it on your own. That's the great thing. So for a moment, I'd like you just ask you a question. Are you willing to let go of that intensity around the word stress? Some of the resistance you have. Hello, Jill. So I want to ask you right now, just for a moment, to just sort of be in your body, feel your body for a moment. When you think about the word stress, and I like to think of the words, put your barriers down. Would you be willing to put your barriers down, barriers down? Would you be open to looking at stress and your life differently? So and really what I'm just asking you to do right now is to just let enough charge down around stress to where you actually might learn something new tonight. You might have an awareness that you've never had before. So I would just ask you to be open to something shifting tonight by just listening and having your own ahas. You know, I'm not saying I know it all. I'm really just opening the floor for us to have this discussion. And I have a couple questions that had come in through email also. But anyway, I even feel like when I said barriers down, there was a shift in the energy, which is, I do energy work, so that's fun for me. This is, you know, again, this is not about you guys, you know, meditating for an hour a day or half an hour a day. This is really about just making some really simple tweaks in your day and changing your outlook a little bit, which doesn't have to happen, doesn't have to take months or anything like that. Not going to lie, again, this is not just around, you know, making little lifestyle changes, but also like it's a mental thing, right? And so I'll talk about that in a minute. What I think is really important for us to talk about is that, I say this to my clients a lot, is that our thoughts create our reality. So not the other way around. So, you know, they say thoughts create feelings and emotions, and those emotions can either work for us or against us. And so we'll talk a little bit about that more in a moment, but like that idea has changed my life. I'll tell you that. I call myself a recovered stressaholic and incessant doer. I spent most of my life sort of thriving on adrenaline. You know, for decades, I felt like, you know, I needed to accomplish, and only then did I feel sort of worthy, right? So I'm not sure if you can relate to that, but I come from sort of, I know what it feels to be revved up all the time, to feel like I can't slow down, to not be able to wind down at night, and to just really love doing in the world. But unfortunately, it did land me in stage 3 adrenal fatigue. This is about a decade ago. And so, I just want to share that like I've come from a place where this was a big part of my life, and I've made it my life's work to shift the way that I react. And it took somebody telling me, like, it's not your fault. This society has so many things that can stress us out. But the cool thing is that we need to kind of own it. We need to be honest with ourselves and sort of take responsibility to find ways for us to power down, to look differently at life and stress and different situations that come. So there's lots of different ways we can explore that this evening, but that's what we're talking about. So, what I'm going to talk a little bit about stress and what it is, and I mean, a lot of people know what stress is, so I'm not really going to go into that too much, but I do want to just talk about the opposite. Let's talk about the opposite stress, because we know stress is that threatened feeling that we have, no matter if we're, like, again, if we're just stressed about our health, if we're stressed about bills, whether we're just, kind of just in a state of stress just because we're so used to being that we don't even know how to get out of it. The opposite of stress, and this is really key, so I want you to stick with me. The opposite of stress is trust. Yeah, I'm going to say that again. The opposite of stress is trust. So I want you to feel that in your body. Like, think of the word stress and how that feels. What energy, what like vibration. I'm going to be a little woo-woo. Just notice what that feels like. And then when I say the word trust, it lightens the energy for me anyway. Trust, whether you're trusting in the universe, whether you're trusting it, the powers that be, whatever it is for you that's true, it's finding a trust in something greater. And because when we don't trust, that's when we get stressed out. We don't trust that, like, we have money issues and we're just living month to month. We don't trust in this idea that we're okay and that we're supported, and that if we really did come into a huge jam, like, there'd be somebody there for us, or the universe would provide for us. So I hope that makes sense. So again, the opposite of stress is trust. So I want you to feel that in your body, and I even want you to feel there's like a sense of safety in that word, right? So what if you could, when you're starting to get stressed out, you actually, sat down, or even if you're standing, you're walking, and you just feel your feet grounding into the earth. You could be walking around your kitchen, cleaning up after your children or doing the dishes. And you just have an awareness that you're revved up and that you're in a revved up state, and you're feeling threatened for time. You're feeling threatened for, not having support and love, whatever it is. And you ground down into your feet, into the earth. Hopefully some of, you can kind of understand what I'm saying. It's like this idea of connecting with earth energy and Mother Earth, this sort of ultimate universal, like the safety. And if we can start to shift that even just once a day by grounding into our feet, feeling the earth beneath our feet, and just saying, wow, what actually would it take to just sort of let go and trust the process, right? This is huge, you guys. This was such a game changer for me. And it's something that if you can't quite, like, if it doesn't work for you right now, like, if you can't quite, I mean, is this making sense to some of you? I want to know, like, if it's working for you, if you can relate to this idea of the feeling, the energy that stress and trust are sort of opposites. And what if you started to play with the idea of trusting when you were feeling stressed? Okay. So if you could start to function from that place of trust, how would that shift your world? Okay. There are other things that you can do. Um, a lot of times with stress, we are taking too much on, right? We're trying to control everything. So again, that's where that trust comes in again. Um, so can you trust that your husband or your partner will do what you need them to do and be an allowance of them doing it in a way, even if it looks different than what you've ever done before? There's so many times, women come to me and they're struggling with this idea that they feel like they do everything in the home. But when you get to the truth of the matter, it's that they have a hard time letting go of the control. And there's no wrongness. I'm not judging you. I am totally with you. I am so guilty myself, but it's also having an awareness. Hello there, Dr. D. Mary. We're, I think a lot of us are guilty of this sort of control thing. So would you be willing to just trust? And again, that word allowance, be an allowance of other people to help take a little bit of weight off you. Okay. So a lot of times when we're stressed out, where do I want to go from here? We're not, I'm going to be honest, and I guilty too. We're not taking time for ourselves, right? So we're really good at doing, really good at creating. And I was on a phone with a client the other day, and I could tell that she was doing like 10,000 things while we were talking. And it was so funny because I was like, called her out on it because this idea of us really learning to, we have so much outside stimuli that we really have a hard time learning how to do just one thing at a time. And so, and one of those things being taking that time for yourself and really honoring yourself. So I have a really cool tip that I love to use in my life, especially as a mom, and this can work even if you're not a mom or a parent, is to take 10 minutes out of every hour of the day. Hello, Angel Grace. Thanks for joining me. This is a tip I'm about to share that's been really powerful for me as a mom, but also just to help with stress. And it's taking 10 minutes out of every hour of the day to do something for yourself. And before you make excuses on why, or talk about, why this isn't doable, I want you, again, to open your mind to just something different showing up. Again, we're going to drop our walls, right? Not being resistant to us, being right, like stress is just something we can't change. It's a part of life. So letting those walls down and listening to different ideas. So this idea of 10 minutes every hour. So I like to think about it like this. I'm going to give you a real example. I'm at the kitchen sink. I'm homeschooling my child. I'm doing some dishes after breakfast. And, we're kind of going through our morning routine. And I get him dialed into something. I'm doing the dishes. So I'm doing like 5 things at once, which I'm really good at. And I feel my body is giving me an awareness that I need to take a break. Right now, I happen to be 6.5 months pregnant, so I really need a lot of that right now. And I say, Angela, 10 minutes, get Dakota dialed in with something and go on your yoga mat and just stretch for 10 minutes. Do 3 sun salutations, or just do 5 minutes of deep breathing. And I have to say, I got this idea from like one of those old-fashioned books for moms. I mean, it's like from the 50s, which I think is hysterical, but it's been really powerful for me and actually a lot of my clients. So this is a good one. And even if you can do this one time in the next week of one of your hours, take 10 minutes and, and do something for yourself. Like I said, take a walk outside. If you're one of those people who works all day and it's really hard for you to take a lunch break, like that's exactly when this is something that you can do. This is a good test for you. This is a good challenge for you. And again, it could be just going outside. I know this is wintertime, so a lot of you, I'm from California, so I live in pretty mild weather, but what would it take to just to go outside and just feel the earth beneath your feet? Go take a walk. Laying on the earth is really fun too. So if you live in a place where it is warm enough, or get your snow gear on and just lay on the ground for 5-10 minutes. Just feel the earth beneath you, feel the fresh air. Those are some really good, powerful things you can do. So again, 10 minutes every hour, take 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes. You get the idea. This is a really powerful tool that I've used, again, as a mom. So there you go. So let's see. Oh yeah, and another thing that a lot of times we do is that we make excuses as to why we can't do something. And that's totally fine. No judgment. We all do it. And so we just need to, I think, be aware that, we, like, instead of just saying, oh, there's no way that I have time to meditate. There's no way that I have time to even take 10 minutes to go do this. Again, let's start asking, what would it take? Instead of just going to the conclusion that we can't, because those are the thoughts that would create our reality, correct? So see what I'm saying? So like, for instance, you're a single parent, say, I just don't have that time to myself. Okay, well, what would it take? So maybe it's swapping childcare hours with a friend. Because I don't have any family that lives around me. My closest relative, my closest support system is 3 hours away. So I kind of get that. So even if you're a single parent, what are some other ways? Start like just planting the seed, asking the question to the universe, to the forces that be, like, ask the question and see what shows up. That's really important. Again, it's that trust in the universe, the trust in just the power, that we are these powerful beings. And if we start to shift that mindset and look for what could show up, then something will show up. It always does. If you're willing to look at it, if you're willing for something to shift, if you want something to truly shift, or do you want to stay in the struggle? I know that sounds silly, but a lot of times we're so used to the struggle, it's comfortable. Okay, so taking time for yourself, I think, is one of those things that we just have a really hard time doing. And so when we're not filling our cup, we're obviously going to be stressed out because our cup is so empty, so dry. So, take those moments on the weekends or in the evenings, if, especially if you're a mom, to go to that yoga class or go take a walk. Advocate for yourself in the home. Whether you're a parent or not, advocate for what you need. This is your journey. This is your healing. Please, please start advocating. If the person in your home doesn't understand what you're going through, your partner doesn't understand what you're going through, just be an allowance of them not understanding, but also just honor you. Like, remember, this is your life, and you have to start advocating for you and your health, and just say, you know what, I know you might not understand, but this is what I'm going through, and it might not feel real to you. It's really real to me, and I need this time. And the more I know that the women in my life that do this and demand this time, they have greater health, greater relationships with their partners, better relationships with their children. I mean, there's a reason this is why. And when you feel honored, when you feel like you go away and you come back, that it's better for you, right? Hello, Tash. Thanks for joining. Or Tash. So one of my community members asked about the emotions of stress. And I wanted to talk about that because we talked about how thoughts create, our thoughts lead to feelings and emotions, and those lead to sort of action or inaction, either way, right? So sometimes emotions are more of like an awareness. So if we have an awareness that, let's say we get really intense feelings, like we feel like we want to cry, that's your body telling you that you need a release. So what if we didn't look at it as a bad thing? So a lot of times the emotions, there's a lot of like, even when we're sad, I like to think about it like, Okay, let me give you an example. It's the easiest way for me to share. So a lot of times I'll have an emotion where I'm just like, I'll feel sad and I'm like, wait, is this, I ask, is it even mine? And some of you might be able to hear that, and it's okay if you don't really understand that or get that and like agree. But sometimes a lot of the things that we feel, we are very energetic beings. So every time we can really, we're kind of like psychic or like radio receivers. So we feel a lot of different people's emotions. So they might not even be ours. And then you can always say return to sender. And if it makes you feel lighter, then that's what's true for you. If you have an emotion that's like, for me, what comes up is, this is my problem, so stressed, which causes my body to crash, which stresses me more. Yeah, so that's, it's about starting to ask your body questions. I know that sounds really, it might sound really airy-fairy out there, but I think it's about letting down the barriers, letting down the conclusions about what stress is, and start to look at like, how can my life, how can I trust more? So we talked about this earlier before you joined, Tosh, is this idea of trust being the opposite of stress. And so again, it's a mindset thing. It's trusting that your body will heal. That's one thing we need to start trusting in. We need to start trusting that we are capable of healing, and that a lot of times when physical things show up in our body and health conditions show up in our body, it's actually something else that's going on, that's not being a need that's not being met, a trauma that's not being dealt with. And so these are really the deeper things that I talk about and work with clients in HYF. You know, it's a big part of, what we're, I think we got disconnected for a second because of reception, but it's really important that we understand that the body is reacting to that. And so what is it that our body requires that we're not giving it? And what are some things we can do on the daily? So I've mentioned a lot of these things already before you arrive. So I hope you can watch the beginning of this Facebook Live to get some ideas I have about how you can start to shift the stress response, right? Because yes, you're so right. Like, you cannot heal if your body's in a constant state of stress. Your adrenals will never be able to balance back out. Your hormones will not be able to be balanced. And I mean, that's pretty true. So what I want to say about my journey is that I know this very well because this was my big wake-up call. Like I said, I suffered from stage 3 adrenal fatigue 10 years ago. And my biggest lesson was when somebody said, okay, it's not necessarily your fault that you got here, but it's your responsibility to change it. And I had that quote, I remember, in my bathroom. I put it up on my mirror. And even though I was triggered by it and I was pissed by it when I first heard it, it was a huge game changer for me. It really changed the way that I looked at the world. So it's not your fault necessarily that you're here. You are, what brought you here, what brought you to have either Hashimoto's or adrenal fatigue or any other chronic condition you're dealing with. It's not saying it's your fault, but you're the only one that has the power and the ability to change it, right? No one's going to change it for you. And if you've seen doctors with this condition, you know that like a lot of times people hit a wall, right? So what can you start doing differently in your life? How can you start reacting differently to things that are happening? So let me go into this because I feel this is where I want to go, is this idea of, and you might be charged when I say this, is victim mode. Okay, so he says, yes, adrenal crisis 8 months ago, and realized I'm the only one that can heal me. More power to you, girl. I totally agree. And it's really about what I was about to say is like, it's about believing in yourself and knowing your own power, and also knowing your body is so frigging amazing. If we just start to like shift the mindset around life. And so one of the things that you can do this is by, a lot of times, and I was guilty of this too, and I still fall into this trap, is, hello, Cooley Danielle. Hi, Danielle. Um, One of our members is to getting out of the victim mode, right? And I say this with so much love in my heart because I'm not judging you because I have totally been there. We're all guilty of it at times. Is when we're in victim mode, we cannot heal. We cannot move forward. And so when you start feeling like that, why me? I want you to just try to get yourself out of it because that mindset isn't going to support it, isn't going to support anything. And I'm not saying you can't be there for a moment, like you can't be in your this SHIT for a moment and you can't like let yourself feel that for a moment. But then I want you to pick yourself up and be like, okay, what would it take? And so for a lot of people, it's a gratitude practice, which is something you might have tried before. Kind of, it's an old trick in the book. It's nothing new, but connecting with something that you're truly grateful for will help you realize that good things that are going on in your life. And so again, I think it's really about interesting that I'm feeling like a victim right now. And instead of judging yourself, just notice that you're feeling that way and say, okay, what would it change for me to to just keep moving forward, keep having the mindset of like, okay, I got this. What can I do next? What would it take? To like, what am I not getting here? Like, what's the missing piece? So like some of you know, and I'll talk about, go into this right now, is that I'm all about, I love affirmations, and I learned a lot from Louise Hay. Actually, Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, changed my life and helped me heal. So I'm a big proponent. I'm a big advocator. I love her work. And I even like to take affirmations further. And some of you on this call that know me well know about this idea of asking questions. And not why questions, because why questions are, again, kind of go into that victim mode and that negative mindset, which we don't want. We want to pull ourselves out of that. And every time that we can do that, it will make a huge difference in our day and in the way that our body feels as well. So, what would it take for me to start trusting this process? What would it take for me to actually believe that I can heal? So you might not believe like I'm going to heal. Like if you have an affirmation like I can heal my adrenal fatigue, or I can do this, or I'm peaceful, or I am grounded. A lot of those beautiful affirmations are great, but a lot of times people don't believe them. And they tell me, Angela, I'm working with my clients and they say, Angela, I just can't believe it. So therefore it feels so fake and it doesn't work. And you're right, it won't work if you don't believe it. So that's where questions come in. And questions are powerful. Again, like, what would it take for blank? How can this blank show up in my life? Or what would it take for me to have a better relationship with stress? So those are important questions. When you ask the question, though, beyond just asking a question is tapping into the energy of what you want the question, of tapping into what the question is creating. Like, have that curiosity, that childlike curiosity to be like, oh wow, what would it take for me to actually heal? If no doctor is going to heal me, what is it going to take? Right? So, and this is really important to start to tap into. And like, how will my life get better? What will my life look like when I'm healed from this condition? And start to really feel the energy and the higher vibration of what that feels like when you ask those questions. And that is the key. That is seriously the ultimate key. This is like seriously gold, you guys, because this is where the mindset, people always talk about mindset. It's because it's not just the thoughts, but it's the energy that the thought creates that changes it. It's like when someone's trying to invent something, like Einstein, like he had to visualize it in his head and he had to like know that he was going to do it. He had to like feel that energy of like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create this. You are a creator. You are a manifester. And we just have to learn how to use those tools of manifestation for our good. So, yes. So when judgments come up, just to like give you some other examples, when judgments come up and you're saying, I guess I'm having a little issue with connection, but when you have a thought of like, I'm never going to get better, I want you to just 3 times, they say it takes 3 to 5 times of thinking or saying something that will help shift the current thought, every current thought that you're having on the negative side. So sometimes I have to repeat it 10 times. Hello, Gilroy's finest. Does that mean you're in Gilroy? That means you're close to me. Anyway, so when you have that negative emotion of like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to heal, I'm having a setback, right? How many of us have setbacks or crashes? And be like, no, this is actually, what if this is actually something completely, what if this is something that's shifting? Or like I'm having this huge reaction, like actually, what if this is my body detoxing? Like I want you to start seeing if you can go to a place of curiosity and asking those questions. Because what happens, think about this if someone's having a panic attack, which a lot of our clients do, right? And when you're having like a stress or anxiety attack. If you think that you're having a stress and anxiety attack, and if you start doing that and breathing heavier and, you know, and thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to have to go to the hospital? And you're like thinking of all these things, or like, oh my gosh, I'm here alone with my kids, what's going to happen? You're going to put yourself further down that spiral, right? And I can tell you this because I've been there. I've had personal experience with this. Is you talk yourself out of it. And I know as a lot of times, you know, we're powerful. We know we've done this in other parts of our lives, where, you know, you're like, no, I'm all good. I'm good. And so what would it take for you when you're in those negative thoughts about, you know, your setback? What if you could say, okay, I realize I'm having a setback and it's stressing me out. But I know that, or actually, what if this was something shifting my body? What if this was the shift I've been looking for? And when you're having a panic attack and you're like, okay, totally got this. I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'm going to calm myself down. And I went through this for about a year pretty strongly after I lost my daughter at birth. And it was amazing how much that like I was in a place where like I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital because of like I couldn't breathe, like I was like thirsty for air, is that I realized that I could so easily talk myself out of it. And then I was fine and I went along my day. So I'm not saying that if you're having an emergency, you shouldn't do anything about it. What I'm saying is that our minds are powerful. And if we can start to shift, the key is shifting the thought in the moment. It's all about your thoughts. As I said earlier, your thoughts create your reality, not the other way around. Okay? So if you want things to shift, please just start making, you know, just anything that really lit you up when I was talking about it, whether it just be that, just if anything else that you can take away from this training, this live, is that the opposite of stress is trust. And even when I say that word again, it's like, whew, it's like everything just gets easier. When I start trusting that I'm going to be okay, when I start trusting in my own healing, my own body, then the energy shifts. And so if you can start to do that every day, several times a day, you're taking these breaks and your adrenals are actually getting an opportunity to rest. You're tapping into your parasympathetic nervous system and you're actually allowing rest and digest. You're actually allowing yourself to sleep well. You're allowing yourself to digest. I mean, it's not a coincidence that, you know, that's this parasympathetic nervous system, you know, is the rest and digest state. And yet most of our clients deal with gut issues and sleep issues, right? So what if we could start to activate the parasympathetic nervous system more often? Again, by all these things I shared this evening, grounding through your feet, no matter what you're doing, sitting down, you're driving in traffic and you're late for a meeting, just ask, like, what would it take for me to be there on time? What would it take? And what if all the lights all of a sudden turned turned green, right? So again, I work with energy. I'm an energy worker, but I've also come from a very, like, my background is not that at all. Like I said, I'm like a chronic, what do I call myself? Like a stressaholic. I was a stressaholic and incessant doer. I love doing things, and I still love doing things now, but I do it in a way that is super honoring of me. And I just remind myself in the morning, every morning, like, you are a goddess and you need to honor you and your beautiful body. And that's when I remember to advocate for myself when I need time for myself. Hello, Terry Barton. Thanks for joining. I'm about to end, but I hope that you can come in and watch the beginning. But what I'm talking about is just this idea that that we are worth it. We're worth taking the time and the energy to, like, to be honest with ourselves about this whole stress thing. But know that it can change. Like, don't be so resistant to stress that you don't learn how to like, I hate to say manage it better, but that's the word it's coming to mind. But it's more about just like, how do I have a different relationship with stress, and actually with life? How do I have a different relationship with life so that I can actually heal my adrenals for good and I can balance my hormones? That's really what it's about. So I hope I answered your question. There was a question about emotions and remembering that they're not always yours, and that also use them as a way to talk through it. If any of you are familiar with tapping, I use tapping a lot with my clients and in our membership program, and several of our recovery programs, where I walk people through EFT or tapping. And it's a very powerful process. So I talked a lot about mindset in this call. So it's really about shifting your mindset and your perspective so that you can start to really shift your response to these things that are happening every day, all day long. The most important thing you need to know is that it's less about meditating for 30 minutes. That's something maybe you can do down the road. But if you're just starting out with this stuff, it's really about how can you shift something in the moment. So you have to have an awareness. So when you have a feeling or emotion, it might just be an awareness that you're having. So I want you to acknowledge, hello, Diane Lopez. So I want you to acknowledge the awareness that you're having. It's those, I hate to say gut feelings, right? People say it all the time, but like, trust your gut. That emotion, that feeling that you're having is actually information from your body, giving you information. So if you feel sad, like, cry. Like, how many times in our society, though, and how many of you, like me, when you were younger, learned that crying was a weakness? And so every time you cry, I still find myself stopping myself when I cry. Like, I immediately want to shut it off. Even if I let myself, like, 30 seconds go by and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. It's like, no, wait, why am I like letting it be done? What if this is exactly the release that my body needs right now? So starting to ask your body what it needs, and remember one more time that our physical body is responding to the things that are showing up in our physical body are happening because of something stuck in our energy, something stuck mentally. So past trauma, you not taking care of yourself. I mean, I know how I got to stage 3 adrenal fatigue, and how I had hypothyroidism and hypoglycemia. I know that it was my behaviors for most of my life. The need to always feel like I had to be doing. And when I learned that, yeah, I can still do a lot of things, but I'm not going to do it at the expense of my health. So yes, I'm going to be a badass all day long and create, but then I'm going to take care of myself. I am going to go to my yoga classes. I am going to come home and I'm going to do my meditation in the morning. That's when I love to do my meditation. Or I'm going to, just having some herbal tea at night so that you can calm yourself down. Again, it's an honoring of you. Like, you are an amazing being. And you deserve to, the reason we get more stressed out is because we're not taking time for ourselves. So stop treating yourself like, you know what, like crap. And this is not all of you, but some of you, if you can honestly relate to what I'm saying, if part of you is saying, yeah, you're right, I don't take enough time for myself, I don't advocate for myself in my home or with my partner, then just do me a favor, because I want to see you have a better life. I want to see you heal. It's like, consider starting to advocate for yourself more. And in the moment is the most important. And a meditation can help that, because it teaches you how to calm down in the moment, to create more space in your life for stillness and quiet. But it really just takes those little, again, listening inside when you have those moments throughout your day, when you're thinking about the emotions you're having or thinking about the intensity that's going on, you stop in the moment, and again, you ground your body, ground down into the earth, take some breaths, and ask a question. What would it take for this to shift? What would it take for me to have more trust in blank? What would it take for me to have more trust in the universe? What would it take for me to know that I am safe? Okay, I keep repeating these same things over because I'm trying to because people are popping on new, but also because I know these things are kind of hard to hear sometimes. And there are things that, I've learned these things from my gurus and my mentors over the years. I'm bringing things from all different modalities that I've learned, the things that have really helped me. I'm not sharing things that are woo-woo and different and haven't changed my life. These are the things that have actually changed my life. So I hope that you have had some ahas. Feel free to share them below. I hope that you walk away with at least one idea that you can implement. And if you have that, please share it in the comments. I would love to hear which one of these things you would like to start implementing. It doesn't have to be a bunch of things. Don't think that you need to go and do all these things, but what's one thing you could do differently? What's one little shift you could make in your day? It starts with one thing. It doesn't start with a ton of things. It's just one. So which one do you want to try? And what does that look like for you in your life? And if they get away, trust that it will. You might go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow morning, have a different feeling. You might have a moment in the shower. I don't know. But it'll come to you. Trust that the step that you need to take next to shift this whole stress game is going to come to you. I trust that. And I'm here to answer your questions. So feel free to, if you're not a part of our Facebook group, if you just, put in Facebook, adrenal fatigue, we're a holistic recovery for adrenal fatigue. Or, we have programs, which I'm not going to talk about on this call, but if you know that this resonates and you need to shift this, of course, this is just the beginning. This is just a part of the conversation. But I really hope that some of this was eye-opening for you and you have some cool ideas to walk away with. And let's see. So what feels manageable? What feels manageable for you? And I did want to let you know we do have a really cool little gift we like to give away called our free recovery starter kit. So I'll go ahead and put a link. Actually, there's a link in our profile, in our link tree, and Instagram if you're watching this from Instagram. And if you're watching this from Facebook, I'll put a link below to this free starter kit. It just has some really awesome, it gives you a really deep dive into some really great tips how to get started with adrenal fatigue recovery. Again, at HYAF, we're all about holistic recovery. So if you believe that only supplements can heal you, then this is not your community. And there's other communities out there that can help you, but that's not us. Ours is a very holistic, looking at all parts, and it takes some effort. It's not going to happen overnight, and hormones do take time to balance out. So if you're looking for support on that, we have a great starter kit. It also has some really yummy recipes in there that are going to be really super gut healing and really friendly and really, really gentle on your adrenals. And the good thing about all of our recipes is that our holistic nutritionist, which you'll be hearing from in some future Facebook Lives, so make sure you look out for those notifications that you get, because we're going to be doing at least one Facebook Live a week over the next few months. Is that she's not doesn't want to be in the kitchen for hours. She's not this crazy chef that wants to be in the kitchen all day. So she makes really easy, most of her meals are pretty easy. All of her smoothies are just really amazing. So you'll get a couple of those in the starter kit. So feel free to get that. Again, it's just a little gift that we love to give to people. So you can go ahead and grab that. Either I'll put a link below if you're on Facebook, Instagram, it's in our link tree in our profile. So just scroll down until you see the recovery starter kit. Thank you all for joining me this evening. And I hope if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us in private message here on our Facebook page, Heal Your Adrenal Fatigue. And we just look forward to supporting you in the future. And I think I'm going to sign off, and I hope this was really helpful for you in some way. Again, I'm just planting seeds, so now I'd love to see where you take this. So feel free to get in touch with me, and I'd love to hear from you. So y'all out there, thanks for joining me. Again, I did like a dual Instagram and Facebook Live at the same time, so I'll try to look at both cameras. But anyway, love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for, like, I'm seeing you, you're like ready to make some shifts, and I just want to know that, like, if you're here to shift and manage your stress and get a different perspective on stress and change your world around stress. And I'm just so honored to be a part of it. And I think that I know that you're on the right track, and I see you, and I appreciate you willing to, like, be honest with yourself around the stress game and truly try to make a difference so that you can actually have the life that you truly deserve and desire, and all the energy that you desire. And that's really, really what I want for you. So it was really fun to be with you all this evening, and bye for now. Oh, I'm not sure why it's not. What's going on here? Maybe. There we go.